very few of the studies that were being done by NIH were being done on chronic disease. NIH should be telling us what are seed oils doing to our children? What is corn syrup doing to our children? What are food dyes doing to our children? What is the packaging and microplastics doing to our children? What are pesticides doing to our children? None of those studies were being done. The studies that were being done by NIH and many, let me give you an example of the few that I cut. There was a study, a $2.2 million study from Boston University to study the effects of exogenous testosterone therapy on communication in gender-diverse speakers. We got a $3 million study at the University of Pennsylvania that studied anti-vaping social media campaigns targeted towards sexual gender minorities, teens between 13 and 18. We got $1 million from the University of Michigan to study sexual fluidity and longitudinal changes in alcohol misuse. And that's just an example of thousands of studies like that were doing nothing to improve American health.
Thank you.
And we're going to change that. We're going to have gold standard science. We're going to have replicated studies. We're going to publish our data. We're going to publish our peer review. And we are going to, for the first time in 30 years, return NIH to evidence-based science.
Isn't it crazy that we're on this tirade about government, right? The unnatural monopoly, and how, in Washington it's 90% Democrats. That means on the the bound of probabilities that a federal employee will be a Democrat is about 90%, right? And you see all the outcomes that the government has been able to produce for the American people, no matter what sector you look at. Is it from health to education? You see the outcomes of government managing this stuff, and they're not able to manage. They're not competent, right? And when you get these people who want socialism, you effectively want these people to manage your lives. If you see the outcomes that public education, or many probably people call it accurately, government schools, when you see the outcomes of government schools and how they have their kids less prepared than kids who do homeschooling, like it makes sense. And it's not about resources, because technically the government school has more resources than a stay-at-home mom homeschooling her child. If you look at the stats, homeschoolers spend less money than the government spend per child on the education of the child, yet they have worse outcomes when it comes to test results. This is why a lot of these teacher unions want to remove testing, because they don't want the people to have an ability to track the outcomes of their education system, of their educational process. And this is problems that RFK has brought up about the NIH. And, I have a clip here with Bernie Sanders, because Bernie Sanders getting confronted by Joe Rogan is sweet justice, because Joe Rogan used to support Bernie Sanders. I think he still does in some ways, but he probably understands how unpragmatic socialism is, especially when there's issues with the government. And to be a socialist, you have to have this warped view, this idealistic view about how government could be perfect. And last time I checked, there's nothing perfect in this world. Everything has trade-offs, good and bad. And the fact that socialists don't want to acknowledge some of the bad trade-offs of their thinking, it's what allows this politicized science to come over here. Because what RFK just exposed is how political a lot of these institutions has become, because a lot of liberals make politics essentially their new religion. And they push it in anything and everywhere they want to. I wrote here when I was listening to that intro that effectively NIH has become political science. Yes, using science for political ends. That's what political science is now. Political studies, right? Try to create a correlation with health. And every correlation you see when it comes to health, following the liberal lifestyle makes you less healthy than following the conservative lifestyle, right? And this is something that socialists, leftists, they cannot contend with. Look at this clip with Bernie Sanders attempting to defend some of the, making a correlation with how the tobacco company came out and said, no, cigarettes don't cause cancer. And I equate this to the same thing that a lot of these political science, a lot of leftists does with science, is that they make claims about science that's not objectively true. When it comes to climate change, everything's politicized. The liberal use anything to politicize it to push people to their worldview. And I want to use this clip as an example of how right now in 2025, liberals are doing the exact same thing. Let's take a look.
You remember there's a photograph, a very famous photograph. I don't know when it was done, 50s, maybe 60s, 70s, I don't know, of the tobacco industry executives coming before Congress and raising. You remember that photograph?
Yes.
And the congressman said to him, tell me, I maybe get this a little bit wrong. Are you aware that cigarettes kill people? No, Congressman, we have no evidence to that effect, right?
Right,
They were
exactly.
lying through their teeth.
Of course.
All right.
Yeah.
And it's exactly, your analogy is exactly right. These food manufacturers know exactly that they are causing obesity and God knows what else in kids, leading to diabetes. They know exactly what they're doing.
Right.
And they're lying. And they're opposing all of us who are trying to, among other things, make our food supply healthier.
It is critical that this body and the American people writ large understand that many foreign aid programs use benevolent-sounding titles to hide truly appalling activity that is not in line with American interest. For example, under the guise of so-called preventative care within PEPFAR program, Americans have been funding the following: $5.5 million to LGBTQ advocacy in Uganda, $800,000 for transgender people, sex workers, and their clients in Nepal, $3.6 for LGBTQ activism, free training in pastry cooking, psychosocial counseling, a cyber cafe, and the dance focus groups for male prostitutes in Haiti, and $1.1 million to produce Gender Transformation in Diverse Social and Behavior Change report, which advocates, again, quote, gender blindness. Most Americans would be shocked and appalled to learn that their tax dollars, money they thought was going to medical care, was actually going to far-left activism, population control, and sex workers. To be clear, no life-saving treatment will be impacted by this rescissions package. Anyone currently receiving life-saving treatment will continue to receive that treatment.
So you've seen him. He said, hey, you remember? But who's supposed to be in charge of the FDA? Right? I make the argument here. Maybe someone can find me some facts that prove me wrong, but I'm willing to accept it. Majority of the people who work in the FDA are probably Democrats. I'm just saying, right? So he's part of a party that supposedly was wanting to use government to solve these problems, but he's just pointing out how gullible the government is. And you get mad when Trump runs with RFK to make America healthy again because of the past 30 years, our government officials or government institutions has been failing us, has been giving the American people bad outcomes, and we want a radical change to those outcomes. We want to revisit the assumptions about vaccines. We want to reassume the kind of narratives that's been made about the FDA. He just admitted it happened before. Cigarettes do not cause cancer and is not addictive. 30 years later, we found out, yeah, it is not only cancerous, it is addictive. Now you're saying the same thing about food. Oh, there's no evidence food dyes cause this. 30 years later, food dyes does cause this. Things that you would be called and labeled a conspiracy theorist now is being made. And now people have the same concerns about vaccines, and you're playing the same game. Vaccine has no side effects whatsoever. Really? No side effects? You sure about that? Hey, nothing's wrong with our vaccine schedule. It's just perfect, right? Oh, why Europeans aren't doing this? Why European governments are not pushing this vaccine on their populace, but we're doing it here in America? You don't want to revisit that? And this is the funny part about politicized people and liberals who are more guilty of being political than conservatives are, is that they push effectively a dogma on people. Science is effectively an ideology built on doubt. Doubt everything. That's science. When you believe or when you trust in someone, it's a belief system. It's a faith-based assumption you're making, while science is a doubt-based assumption. We revisit studies that's been done 30, 20, 40 years ago, and we still revisit them today because we want to make sure that sentiment, that assumption is still true in current modern times. But for some reason, you don't want to revisit vaccines. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. And then when we put out the conflict of interest, hey, a lot of these politicians like Bernie Sanders, they get paid by pharmaceutical industry. Oh, we only get paid by the workers. The workers. That's donated from the workers. It don't matter. You are in line with that industry. And you saying positive things, You not wanting to, hey, let's revisit this, shows that you have a lack of confidence that these things may be actually the source of some of the issues that we've been facing. RFK points out how environmental stuff is possibly causing the autism stuff. Maybe it's our diet. Maybe it's a combination of all these things, and we want to get to the bottom of it. That's what American parents care about, right? But can we really trust a committee where you're cutting studies that effectively do nothing? Like this clip I'm about to visit with you guys, it highlights exactly what's wrong with leftists and why many people don't trust them anymore.
Do you think that constitutes critical research? According to your testimony, NIH grants are critical research,
I think that government research of all types in the medical, and
including a birthing people?
I think bench research of all types plays a fundamental
What is a
role.
birthing person?
Sir, I am here to talk about the DOGE impact.
Well, I'm
for
asking
working
you about this
families.
grant and you're defending it. So I'm asking you, who is birthing people?
I am not familiar with this grant.
Mm-hmm.
I take a position that all kinds of government research, medical,
Is a
pharmaceutical.
birthing person?
No, you see how dumb this is? This is a hustle. This is a hustle, right? Just like in the black community, black conservatives were known for this. We like to call black Democrats race hustlers, right? Why? Because you hustle on race. You use race as an alibi or as a kind of excuse or as a way of justifying people just giving you money for nothing, essentially. And she's making the same argument. Oh, NIH grant should be given to all kinds of research. Therefore, she doesn't want no scrutiny on it. Hey, should we do research on the pregnancy of birthing people? What's she talking about? A woman. Something that's been like historical. Like we have deep, deep historical evidence. We don't need to revisit that. Because this is the funny part. This is why Democrats hate being judged on their policies. This is why Democrats hate being judged on their outcomes. They want to be judged on their intentions because it's easy to look good with your intentions. Oh, I love you. I do this for you. I do all this. It's so easy. Democrats want people to judge them on their intentions, and they make the intentions they try to make that the reality, the perception, when reality is the outcomes. You have a theory. Oh, and all NIH grants should get funding. Okay, even this? Oh, I'm not familiar with the term. Okay, so you want to just, by default, just give stuff. And this is the problem. Entitlement, I think, is what's truly ruining the liberal ideology in politics. They literally believe they're entitled to money, they're entitled to people's trust, and they feel like they don't have to earn nothing. And American people put them effectively in timeout and said, nah, you have to earn our trust again. But they don't want to earn your trust. They just feel entitled to it. And I think that is what's holding the Democratic Party back. Let me know if you agree with me in the comment section.
And a woman, is that another
Biological.
word for female?
That is outside the scope of my expertise.
Seems like erasure language to me. I've been told that type of vernacular constitutes erasure language. How about another one? How about the conference, Gender Equity in the Mathematical Study of Commutative Algebra? Do you think that that's a valid form of government spending?
I think mathematical research of all types is deserving of government.
What about
investment.
studying, and this is directly from the National Science Foundation's website, women and non-binary mathematicians?
Again, I think all kinds of government investment should be dedicated.
Think about it this way. A group of delusional people struggle with a field of study, math, that is rooted in linear thinking and critical thinking and problem solving. Who would have thought? Who would have thought you need a study to tell you that? Why do mentally unhealthy people struggle with mathematics? Especially non-binary people who effectively are delusional people. People who are more emotional. People who are so idealistic that they believe that they can control their own reality. People not based in the reality struggle with math. Who would have thought? Math runs the world, right? Because math is the closest thing, the closest field of study that's rooted in reality. That it's hard to frame subjective feelings on math. 2 + 2 = 4. It don't matter how you look at it. It don't matter your race. It don't matter your gender. It doesn't matter your ideology. It don't matter If you think you're a man, woman, child, whatever, 2 plus 2 will always equal 4. There's no 2 plus 2 equals 5 because it depends. No, it don't depend. 2.5 plus 2.5 may equal 5, but that's decimals. You get into decimals now. You get into fractions now. And this is why the left struggle. Because the left believe that they're entitled to make reality how they see it, instead of accepting reality for what it is. And I think that's the biggest divide right now.
Toward mathematical,
All kinds of government investment.
scientific.
You don't have any kind of limit on what we're spending our money on, just everything? Is that your testimony?
I am talking about DOGE. You brought up a
So
grant.
am I. This is a grant that DOGE cut.
I am not familiar with this particular grant, but I think government investment in mathematical, biological.
Let's do another one. This one is called hashtag Transcendent Health, adapting an LGB plus inclusive teen pregnancy prevention program for transgender boys. I can't even say this without laughing. Do you think that is a useful form of our tax spend?
I am not familiar with that grant, but I think bench research, government investment in scientific and
Teen
pharmaceutical
pregnancy
research.
for transgender boys. Do you think that is a useful spend of our tax dollars?
I think government investment in all kinds of scientific research is of the utmost importance.
Including pregnancy prevention for transgender boys. Okay.
You just have to laugh. I wrote here, so no standards. That's it. That's what it is. No standards. Don't have any standards for anything. This is self-esteem culture at full effect. Conservatives, culturally, we push on our children. This is why we believe in morality, fundamentalism. Conservatives tend to be known for this stuff. This is why we push self-control on our children. While liberals and people on the left, they push self-esteem. This is what self-esteem culture breeds. It breeds entitlement, right? Oh, you should just give me stuff. For what? No justification, no reason. Just give me because I exist. No, this is not how you run a country. And you wonder why they're lost in the clouds, why they believe that it can be man, a woman. This is why the left comes across to me very childish and unserious. And they want to run this country. If it was her money, let's play a game. If it was her budget, you think she'd be wasting stuff on these studies? No, she wouldn't. And this is why the left cannot produce good outcomes, because they stuck thinking like children. Only a child thinks like this, and even a child wouldn't even think like this lady. If you ask a child, "Hey, should we spend money on transgender boys or teens being pregnant?" If you're a transgender woman, I assume you're dating other women, right? And I don't think gay men want to date a transgender woman. A transgender man. Just like a woman, a lesbian, wouldn't want to date a transgender woman. I think that's going on. So how are they going to get pregnant? Literally, through deductive reasoning, I come closer to a truth, and your studies is going to validate. So you wasted 20, just like the Democrats. They have to spend $20 million to understand why young men don't vote for the Democratic Party. These people are so out of touch. And the only reason you'll need a study for these things is if you're so delusional that you don't even understand the basic ground of reality. To be a conservative, you understand there's certain things that are unchanging. You're going to die one day, right? You can't live forever. You don't have a right not to be offended. Your rights end where another person's begin. You only have control over your own mind, not outside events. These are things that conservatives understand. But liberals don't understand it. They believe they can control other people. You have to validate my existence. I believe I'm a woman. You have to validate my existence that I'm a woman, or else I want you to in jail. Force. That's force. You rather use force to push people, a worldview on other people. And this is why I say liberals are passively authoritarian. Oh, I don't want to teach, we don't want to teach religion in school, but you want to teach foreplay, gay sex, with books in schools. You want kids to be, you want the libraries to give access to that kind of information, but you don't want them to have access to the Bible. The same argument that liberals made about why not having the Bible in school, conservatives can make the same thing about all this gender, queer stuff, books and stuff that they're trying to put in public libraries, in public school libraries. Oh, they're trying to ban books. You banned books already. You banned the Bible out of school. So why all of a sudden you're mad that conservatives want these things banned? You think the world revolves around liberals and liberal parents only? Oh, if you want to teach the Bible, if you want to teach the Bible to kids, you should do it at home. If you want to teach gay, queer sex theory stuff to your kids, you do it at home. Don't put it in a public space. Same arguments. But this is why many people, this is why I call out the liberals. You have no principles. You have no values. You don't believe in nothing. The only thing you believe is in power. And whatever gets you power is the position you take. You contradict a position you had years ago to make an excuse for why something that you believe politically benefits you, you want it in schools. And it's the self-centeredness that's hurting liberals. Liberals don't want to do studies. Liberals don't push studies about how there's a big correlation between liberalism and poor mental health. Why they don't push those studies out? It don't help their political motive, does it? This is NIH, right? It's NIH, right? Why we don't do study? Hey, what is it? Why are liberals so unhappy? What is wrong with liberals? Why you don't hear articles like that? But you hear articles like, oh, toxic masculinity, oh, working out in the gym, here's how it's bad for you. Huh? This is the kind of studies that liberals want NIH to be doing, a politicized one. To what? Push a worldview, because that's all they care about, power and control. That is the core motive of the Democratic Party. And this is why I don't trust Democratic leadership. Every state you look at that's run by Democrats, that's dominated by Democrats, it's poorly run, but they'll pretend to you, they'll gaslight you up and down that it's run properly because certain people get free stuff at the expense of other people. Make that make sense. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts and perspectives in the comment section below. I'll be interested to hear what you guys have to say. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Please share this video if you feel so inclined. It really does help me out in the algorithm. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.